Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Elite Real Estate Podcast. It is Friday. Hey, I've got another special guest on this morning that I'm super happy to be bringing on with us today. And I want to introduce him right now, Mr. John Kitchens. And there he is. There he is.
I like the little sound effects in the background. That's awesome.
Yeah, man, you got to have the little drops in there, right?
It's awesome.
Yeah, got to have some drops. You got to have some music. You got to, it's getting that energy going. You know how it is.
Yeah. It funny. You were like, yeah, man, I do the podcast at 7:15. I was like, okay, I'll be on East Coast time. That's perfect. I'll be 6:15 Central time.
Yeah, that's the hard part sometimes is doing it live and if I have anybody on the West Coast that wants to come on, I'm like, it's 4:30 in the morning for you guys. So, but we do have some callers that call in from California.
That's awesome.
And it's they're almost with us every day almost, and it's it's 4:30. I don't think anything I say is important enough to live at 4:30 in the morning.
Well, I always joke, people are like, man, I'm gonna get up at 4, be a part of the 5 a.m. club. I'm like, well, it might be better if you're part of the 9 p.m. club, because that makes the 4 or 5 a.m. club a lot easier if you're part of that 9 p.m. club.
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, for sure. So, Johnny Kitchens, I appreciate you coming on, my man. But for the people that don't know who you are, and I don't know who in this industry doesn't know who you are, give us a little of your background. How the business, like how long you've been in it, what's going on with you, and where are you at today?
Yeah, man. It's been a fun ride. October was 20 years. Introduced to Mr. Jay Kinder, and it's funny, man. From small town Lawton, Oklahoma. At the time, just 100,000 people in the entire county, and man, I never met him. 20-something-year-old kid, and he's we're the same age, and yet I knew him. Because you couldn't go anywhere in our town without either hearing him on the radio, seeing his billboard, seeing signs everywhere. And I was just, when I met him, I was like, dude, I can't believe we've never met. And he was, the same thing. And I was in kind of a sticky situation at the time. I had been working for, childhood friends, serial entrepreneurs. And we had between, 2000 and 2003, we had, flipped and sold 4 different businesses, and actually three, and then we ended up finishing that one, but pretty much jobless going into, the end of 2003. And, 20-something-year-old kids, we thought it was a good idea to invest in the bar that was for sale around the corner. And so we got in the bar business in 2004. And, I had a newborn. My daughter ended up being born in the middle of 2004. And that's no life for a dad in the bar business and in that scene. And so Mr. Michael Reese is the connector. Him and I go back to junior high school. We played junior high school golf together. We were actually first roommates in college. We made it about a year in college. And I was supposed to be there playing golf, and I was on the drinking team instead of the golf team. And so he went south, he went to Texas, and I went to California. And that was really my schooling out there. I was fortunate enough to fall into, a job kind of at the pinnacle in, central North, California, in Hollister, California, just about 45 minutes in from Monterey Bay. And I just had one of the most amazing bosses. And she's like, dude, you know how to play golf, you know how to teach golf, but you don't know shit about business. And so she really took me under her wing and let me fail. She let me supply the golf shop, which she knew was going to be a disaster, but she let me fail. She made me spend time, in the kitchen with the crew, food and beverage, over in lodging. We'd go play golf with the GM, and she just really became my understanding in the frameworks and the tools that I carried into, back to Oklahoma with my buddies. And then, Michael found out that I was making a jump. I just, I couldn't do it anymore in that bar business. Life just, when you wake up in the morning, you go to the bar and the first thing you do is pour a drink, you got to make a change. So he caught wind, made the introduction to Kinder, and man, 20 years later, it's been an interesting ride. We took, for me too, Jimmy, I walked into a successful operation by a lot of people's standards, right? that year in 2004, we closed out 340 transactions, which was 10% market share. And I always say, I walked into a Go Fast boat motor on the back of a rowboat. Essentially what it was. And the train was off the tracks, and, being able to stabilize things, systems and processes in place, cadence and rhythm and communication, visibility, all the things that, back of the house really has to have for any organization to be successful. And, we went on 430 and then 531, which took us to the, top in the world for Caldwell Banker in 2006. And, I always say for real estate agents, when you get to, that level of success in the industry at any organization, any brokerage, and, over 20% market share, you unlock a lot of other doors, right? Other opportunities open. Most people, they either, die as a real estate agent, or they move on to other opportunities that their real estate business provides. And, Michael on the path, and, the whole coaching, dynamic and the coaching dream. And, which it was a long path to get to Kinder Reese coaching, but they got there, and, ended up getting out of Lawton finally in 2012, 2013, escaped Lawton, like we like to say, and got down to Dallas, DFW, and we kicked off the other brokerage. But an interesting thing happened in 2011 going into 2012, and it was it was really a when they had the coaching program. So when you have the coaching programs, you have to have some place for people to ascend to, or they're going to ascend out. It's just like our teams, right? Yeah. Traditional teams, your talent always came out the top. That was always kind of the fundamental flaw of the team model, is that you would lose talent out the top. Obviously EXP now allows your team, the talent to land somewhere. And so the guys were going into 2012, they formed Mastermind, which ended up becoming NAEA Mastermind. And, in my humble opinion, it was probably one of the best masterminds in the entire country for a long period of time, no matter what industry. It was just that amazing because we focused on experience. I mean, honestly, we went places we wanted to go. Like we went to Aspen twice, not to go to Aspen because it was the X Games. We wanted to go to the X Games. So we did a mastermind at that. We went to Cincinnati, not to go to Cincinnati because we wanted to go to the Kentucky Derby. So we did a mastermind around that. We went to St. Thomas because we wanted to go to St. Thomas. We went to Alaska because we wanted to go to Alaska. But we just created these experiences, but it was just the mastermind format from being in so many coaching programs ourselves and so many masterminds ourselves. We just pulled the best and formulated it. And it was really, really incredible. And you talk about some of the giants in the industry, were part of that room, back when they were struggling, the Jeff Cooks of the world, the John Mikishes of the world. And so it was really, an awesome run. Well, after that first mastermind, we're sitting there in Aspen and having breakfast, waiting to catch the ride to the airport. And Kinder goes, "Hey man, you want to, we need a coach for these agents. You want to step in and start coaching these guys?" And, I was like, yeah, I mean, absolutely. Because the reality was I was still in Lawton at the time, and these guys were calling me almost every day, asking me questions because everything that they were coaching on was what we were doing in Lawton, Oklahoma. And so they were already picking my brain anyways. And so now we're just going to put it into more of a formal relationship and get compensated. And so that led me down the path of coaching. And, that started in February of 2012. And, we track everything, right? So I think I'm over 17,000 one-on-one coaching calls, a little over 9,500 hours of one-on-one coaching. And, that's the thing. It's not, hey, throw this all out there. But what it means to me is I just have a unique perspective that I don't know very many people can bring to the table, right? Being able to own and operate inside of a small market, own and operate inside of a big market, DFW, and then all of the coaching calls since February 2012. Man, I always joke, is like, there's nothing you can throw on me that I haven't seen, either personally gone through, had to navigate through, or help a client navigate through. So like I've got a depth that most people don't have, of just all aspects of life and business and health and relationships and just being able to bring, all of that into the conversation. So that's what's led us up to here.
Oh man, I love it. It's such a good story. Like, and I know what you guys have created together. You see my honey badger hat right back here, right?
Yeah.
But the group and the power of that group, but the influence, right? Like I think it's a true meaning of a rising tide lifts all ships. I feel like it's you guys believe in this. If we all do better, then we all do better, right? There's not an island that you guys are on. There's nothing that you don't share. There's nothing, every time I've ever reached out to any one of you, there's never been well, I don't want to share that with you. It's always like, no, here it is, take it and go. Right. It's always, that's one of the incredible things about the groups and that I've been surrounded with in the last 4 or 5 years, right. Is the ability to do that. And, you guys are a big part of that. So it's like, I don't know, again, how why people would miss out on this, but whatever, it's not for everybody, I guess.
That was really an adoption early on. And, you start to get into kind of, core values and decision-making filters. And, for us we knew that the path was not being the best real estate agent. We knew the path was being the best marketer. And we adopted that really early on. Most people don't know Jay, myself, and Matt Wagner started radio and television experts. And a lot of people, that are the behemoths in their market, it's because they've gone through rate. That's how I know Mark Z is through rate, right? Through Matt Wagner. But most people don't know it was started in Lawton, Oklahoma, in our office, 1146 Northwest Cache Road in Lawton, Oklahoma. I did all the billing, the booking, talking to the clients. Jay was kind of the poster child, and Matt, worked his magic at the radio stations. And, that really started, down the path. And we understood, the power of channels to build your brand. And our main focus was always around brand, strong offers, motivated seller offers, staying consistent, and really focusing on the marketing side and really becoming obsessed with marketing. And that's the differentiator. That's the separator that I always tell real estate agents. I'm like, if you focus on being the best real estate agent, you're going to get lapped by 4 or 5 different type of people if they're obsessed with the other facets. The marketer will always win. The salesperson will always beat the realtor. The negotiator will always beat the realtor. The leader will always beat the realtor. But then there's the best real estate agent, right? Comes in about 5th if you want to just base it on that category of the 5 different areas of focus. But we were obsessed with being the best marketer, and so everything we did revolved around that. And you talk about hey, just always add value, right? That's just one of our core values. In any situation, we go in that situation to give and make the situation better. And we would always tell a team, they were asking for this. It's like, well, is it going to add value? And they're like, yeah, then do it. It's not even a question. If it adds value to the conversation, it adds value to the relationship, just do it. And for us, that was early on in the online digital marketing space with some of the OGs, the Frank Kerns, the whole kind of movement of digital marketing at the time. There's a gentleman by the name of Evan Pagan, and he had the move the free line. That was his thing, right? Constantly keep moving the free line. And most people understand it from like what Gary Vee talks about today, just give it all away. Hermosi talks about give it all away. That's essentially what that means, is move the free line. Like don't put up this paywall to be able to get this. If you give all of your people your best stuff, they're going to want to think that you have more, and they're going to know what else is there. And so then that's when they'll start to pay. And so that was early adoption. I mean, you talk about, that was back, early. I mean, 2004, 2005, 2000. I mean, that was just, we embodied move the free line. And it was funny, talking to the traditional, marketing people, they're like, no, we got to charge for that. We got to give it. And, for us that understood that concept, we would always push back. We're like, no, just give it away. Who cares? Give it away. And I think that was one of the, the little nuanced things, the keys to our success early on.
Yeah, that's super interesting that you like. So from a marketing standpoint, right? There's like, you're bringing it up. There's 2 different avenues that people look at, right? The Gary Vee model is like, here, take everything, right? And I'll get you later. Or it's like you charge everything up front, but then what's the value, right? What's the value you're adding? But I love the like what you said about marketing. Always the marketer always wins, right? The marketer always wins. And I think with social media and all those, like the growth of that, what do you think is the best like marketing idea for a realtor now at this point? Like if you were to start over and say, all right, now I'm a brand new realtor and I need to market myself, what would be your best advice on marketing right now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously brand, establishing a brand is kind of a balance, right? It's not all just brand and awareness, but it's also what are you doing to get people to engage? And um, you look at any business, it's always, theory of constraints. So the theory of constraints really is that we live in a conveyor belt, and our business is a conveyor belt, and we put in raw material, which is a lead, and then we get a raving fan, a closed transaction. They've sent us a referral. They scream from the rooftops. They've given us a testimonial, a review, a 10 on the net promoter score. We've gone down the conveyor belt, but there's always a constraint somewhere, and it really revolves around traffic, conversion, fulfillment, and then retention. And most people think that they've got a traffic problem. They'll come to you, Jimmy, I need more leads. And most of the time it's like, I don't know, do you need more leads or do you need a better offer? What's the market? What's the starving market? And, sports analogy is, we all have this massive playbook. And so what we have to do is, great teams just utilize the segment of the playbook to what the defense is giving them. And so what is the defense going to give me? What is the market giving me right now? And so what is the offer that I need to make to this market that is out there? And you look at the market right now, I mean, the have tos is the only market. There's no want tos in this market. They either have to do something or they're not going to do anything at all. And I think a lot of agents get one on the line, and they get somebody talking, and, they think that they could help them, but yet they're a nice to have. They're not like, man, I absolutely have to. I'm in a desperate situation. We have to make a move. We can't. This is a burden, right? We've got to do that. And so what is the offer to that market? The offer is the most important thing. And so the thing from a marketing perspective coming into a new market, I think, yes, you got to build brand. And I think the best and fastest way to do that is through social, but through video. And, not just, I mean, you need to shoot good video. You need to have, your listing videos, you need to have, property tours, you need to do, just be present, top of mind. There's so many distractions. I think early on in the digital marketing game, for us, it was the number of impressions was, they needed to see 7 to 10 to 15 times before that they would move down the path. That's 30 to 40 times now, right? They've got to see you to see the same message before it starts to take root, just because there's so much distraction out there. So I think you look at, from a marketing perspective, one, you got to have the offer. What is your offer to the market? I think, cash offer, guaranteed offer, EXP backs up a lot of things with express offers to be able to offer, make a guaranteed offer type of offer to the marketplace. I think list of off-market properties is really the offer to buyers in today's market. So I think being able to, understand what that is and how to craft a really good offer. I would tell people listening in, if you don't have Hormosi's, $100 million offers and $100 million leads, you've got to get those two books. Those two books they're workbooks. They need to go everywhere with you. Because once you have your offer, then you look at, the core four and the four lead getters. And so I'm always thinking about that, right? So part of Hormosi's core four is what is the consistent message to the people that know you, like you, love you, trust you? What is the database, right? What's the market update cadence? What's the newsletter cadence? What's the about me cadence? What's the, off market coming soon cadence? Like, what is that communication to the database? That's one. The other is social media. What is the social media aspect? And the biggest thing too, Jimmy, with that I see is, marketing is also about being consistent. Stay consistent, brand consistency. You're not changing up your colors. You're not changing up your fonts. I mean, things are set, your offer, you're consistent. And so you have your social media. What is the social media, game plan? Dive into Gary Vee's book. What we're just talking about, and dive into, day trading attention, dive into that book, utilize it, find inspiration, who's inspiring to you of what they're doing on social, find that it's okay to model, success. And so go find what you like and what you love, and being able to stay consistent with social. So that is, video areas. What do people want? Don't guess. What do they want? We know buyers want eye candy, as top of funnel. They want to see properties. They want to see, as many photos. They want to see floor plans. They want to see those things, right? We were talking about new construction before we came live. Like, you need to see everything. You need to see the area. You need to see, the home. You need to see, the floor plan. You need to see all of those things, because that's what buyers want. Give it to them. Don't charge them for it. Give it to them. Let them see it. I think then you switch over. So that's kind of warm, the warm side of the house. And then you switch over to the cold side of the house. You run ads, of course. I think the best performing ads is just talking to those that are running Facebook ad. I mean, it's new construction. New construction is the best ad hook right now that you can possibly run. Maybe some price reduced, but that's really, going to be the key thing. And then, the cold outreach. And if I'm doing cold outreach right now, I'm playing data, and I'm going after motivated sellers. I'm going after the have-to sellers, and I'm getting that data, and that's who I'm focused on. I'm not doing a shotgun approach. I'm doing a rifle precision approach, and I'm reaching out to that, to that motivated seller data that's out there, right? There's so much data. There's so many indicators, right? 3 times late on credit card statements means they're about to be late on their mortgage. So, you can start getting out and starting to establish some type of connection and relationship with those type of people. If I'm going to mail something, I'm going to mail something to those people. I'm not just pulling up every door direct and dropping, to every damn door, because not everybody's going to move. And so I think being really intentional, I think might be the word moving into 25. I need to be really intentional with what I'm doing and really what I'm focused on. Who is the opportunity in the marketplace? What do they want? And then, how do I help them get that?
Man, there's so much. There's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot there. But it's so good. Like, because I think one thing that agents miss out on is there are opportunities out there. Now, I think one of the biggest things you said, and I hope everybody listened to this, was the consistency piece, right? Like, you have to be consistent with your business. If you're bouncing all over the place with, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, I want to do that. We talked about that briefly before we jumped on too, right? How we get distracted so easily in this business, because there's this new system, there's a new lead source, there's a new data, there's a new this, there's it's like all these things that get thrown at us. And we don't live intentionally, right? We just kind of like shotgun approach it. We do everything we can and to tackle everything we can do. And we think by doing more, we're going to get more. But I think, to your point, I think almost doing less and just putting that rifle approach as opposed to the shotgun approach is going to be better moving forward. Because you're right. Not everybody right now wants to move. Right. Like, again, it's been the same sticking point we've had. If I'm at a house, in my house, and you hear like people have a 2.9% interest rate. Why would I move to a 7? Right? Like, why would I do that? Like, it doesn't financially, it makes no sense, right? So again, those people that have to move, right, and finding those and being those. Now, like, going back to what you guys starting in Lawton and all the things that you did, were like expireds and FSBOs, were those like a big thing for you guys, or were you more, or were you what was your base business for that?
We did. I mean, we get to a point we finally, you do everything, but it takes time to get to that point. And, our main was attraction based business, right? So that's why, we were heavily branded. Like I said, 7 or 8 billboards across town. We were on radio. We dominated radio. We were really one of the first kind of in our market for, these lead gen platforms. We were day ones with Tiger Leads and Howard Tager, and then obviously into kind of day ones with Boomtown. We were day one with Commissions Inc. before it was Commissions Inc. It was the worst tool you could possibly imagine. But the brilliance in Dwayne was that he listened and he adjusted fast. And that's what ultimately made it, one of the richest exits in any type of real estate, platform ever. I don't think anybody will be able to exit for as much as he was able to exit for with Commissions Inc. But that just goes to show the type of leader that he was. And so, we did a lot of the, lead gen side of things. Our raving fan program was off the charts. We like second to none. I mean, we had the moving van, everything was wrapped, everything was branded. I mean, we had the H2 that was wrapped, brand new. As soon as H2s came out, we were the first one in town with it, and we wrapped it immediately. Right. So we were just always thinking about branding, and our main focus was impressions. How many impressions can we put on a marketplace in any given day? So we knew that if, somebody driving to work, they would have to, the main arteries, they would see our billboard going to work. They would see a billboard coming home from work. They would hear us on the radio because we were on drive times. They would, driving through their neighborhood, they would see our yard signs. And, if it was an area that we were focused on, they probably got something in their mailbox, right? So you think about in any given day, they had 5 or 6 impressions of us. And who knows, they might have saw the moving van or the Hummer going down the road too. So there's a couple other impressions that they would have got. And so everything we did was focused on how can we maximize the number of impressions to the marketplace. That's what we focused on, just number of impressions.
Yeah. And it's that top of mind then, right? It's just like, it just becomes synonymous with, all right, well, there's and again, it's not necessarily they see the billboard one time and call you. It's they see the billboard 100 times. And then when they're at a party and they're like, oh, somebody needs to sell their house. Like, hey, I just saw this billboard. Like, because it's just constantly in front of you.
Yeah. And what we saw, Jimmy, was that it just gave everything a lift. But what was really cool was we stopped. We were asking the wrong question. We were asking, hey, what was the last thing that you saw that caused you to give us a call? And that wasn't true. We changed the question to, who do we need to thank for sending you our way? And what we started to find is that more than 50% of that were coming to us were referred to by somebody else, meaning they were like, hey man, my neighbor said that, you guys helped him get into his house, a couple of years ago. He told us, what the experience was and for us to give you a call. So now this is where we start focusing on lifetime value instead of the transaction treadmill. We're like, got it. We got that. Mr. and Mrs. Smith right down the street. Boom. Hey, send them a thank you card, right? Like send them some brownies or send them something. Thank you for referring them over to us. So that's how we started really, dynamically. I mean, just almost overnight, we just changed one question. That's the whole change of questions change your life. And for the business, we just changed the question, who do we need to thank? And that just opened up the whole lifetime value. That opened up, the whole relationship tree. It was just one question, right? That can dramatically, shift the direction of your business. And that was the one for us.
That's so good. And it's, right. I think the consistency between your brand, right? Getting the message out over and over again. And that just changing that one question, like, who can we thank for sending you our way? I think it's such a big question because that we always do are like, we track everything, right? So if it's like, was it the radio? Was it the billboard? Was it, how did you get to us? But I think changing that one question, I think is huge. Because it's all about asking the right questions. Right. It's all about asking the right question. So that's incredible. And so we got a couple of comments here. Al, we had one say, be really intentional. And then Al Abdallah said, less is more. And if you do more wrong, more is less.
So good. Yeah. It's we were talking about mental models before we came on live, and that's, growth through subtraction. I mean, that's a mental model. And I think, kind of like what we were talking about, the downside of real estate agents, of salespeople, you're either a project-based person or you're a process-based person. Can we dip over into the other? Of course. I mean, we're humans, we do anything.
Right.
But where do we tend to default to? And so most salespeople, everything default to the project side of things. And what we love is the variety. We love the difference, and every transaction's different. It's just like, we were talking about every coaching client. I mean, there's fundamental principles, there's things that you can't argue. It's in every situation. However, everybody's a little different. So it's a little bit different situation. And so the downside for project-based people is that we struggle with focus. And so, it's super, super important to have, clarity, to have a strong vision, to know your core values. Why do we exist? What's the mountaintop that we're in pursuit of? What are our targets? What are our objectives? What are our goals? And, you've got a great example just coming out of EXPCon talking about, I was crystal clear. And this is the number one thing for anybody listening. Anytime you go to an event, you go to anything, what is the primary objective? If I got clarity around this one thing, it would 10x my what David calls, right, ITR, right? My investment, my time, it would give me the return. It's the cash conversion cycle. It would 10x my investment of time, resources, and energy going to EXPCon. It's going to cost me, say it cost me $5,000 to go. I'm going to get a 10x plus return if I can just get clarity on this one thing and be real intentional when you go into that event, because then now you know what to say yes to and you know what to say no to. And for project-based people, we just kind of sometimes we don't have the rudder set, and like we're just whatever the wind's blowing us is the direction we're going. And kudos to you for having that rudder set. And you're like, I'm going here, and if it's not going to help me get clarity on this one thing, then I'm not going to go sit in there. I don't care who it is. I don't care how amazing it is. It's not going to serve me. It's going to just cause a distraction. And, distractions are the biggest thing that take us off course. And I mean, we're seeing it just with all the nonsense and the narrative and the media and everything going on right now. It's just so many distractions.
Oh yeah.
And so you've got to be able to set that rudder, and you got to set the direction. You got to know, you got to have filters to be able to make decisions. And that's why, focus is really, one of the most important things for project-based people is to get real clear. And I would just narrow it down. I mean, get it to 1-2 things max, and really go, as deep as you can on that. Focus-based people, project-based people, real estate agents, notorious, right? We don't usually die from starvation. We usually choke ourselves out because we're trying to chew on too much.
Right. And yeah, you're right. So we did have a listener say, good morning from Miami. So somebody is in Miami.
Nice.
And you're in Florida. You're in Florida right now too, right? So
I am.
And so I don't want to get off what we were talking about, but I want you to tell everybody what you're doing. What are you doing in Florida?
So I went down this crazy endurance kick. It's been about 8 years now. I lost my mom. She was 2 months shy of her 40th birthday. And so as I was approaching 40, I wanted to do something, that's really going to stretch me. And, I grew up, my dad's a coach. He was in the public school system for over 40 years, teacher coach. I mean, that's Coach Kitchens, right? I mean, people say that's my dad. And so I grew up hardwired in that environment, from an athletic perspective, and really more on the coaching dynamic side of things. And, stayed active, obviously, more transition more to the golf side of things coming out of high school and most of my life. And I just wanted to do something that challenged me. And up to that point, I've done some fun 5K runs, the beer runs, with the buddies. We just, just culture building, group, team things, just fun things like that. But, I just wanted to stretch it and decided I want to run a marathon. And not any marathon. So I ended up wanted to run the New York City Marathon. Well, I'm slow as a turtle. And so, you don't get into New York City unless you're fast and or you live in New York and you get in the lottery and you're able to run New York City Marathon. And, amazing how, compensation drives behavior, and there's always a loophole, right? There's always a way. And,
right. Always.
There's always a way. Have you read The Third Door? It's a good book to read, but essentially the whole principle around The Third Door is that they liken life to a nightclub, and you've got the main entrance that everybody wants to get into, and it's the red car. Everybody's waiting in line, right? You never get in. You're right. You never get in. You're just standing in line. Then you have the VIP entrance. You can pay your way through, or you have enough influence that they'll let you in that, the side door into the VIP entrance. And then there's the concept of the third door. There's a way. There's a back door that they left open. There's a window that they didn't shut all the way. There's a way to get into anything you want. And so that was one of the concepts that we developed early on, is that we find our way into anything. There's no door that's ever always open. And so, well, I know there's a door. We just got to find the door. And so the loophole for us was being able to raise money, and it ended up being for the cancer center in New York City, and running on Fred's team, which aligned. My mom, lost my mom to cancer, and when I was 11, and my dad remarried for over 20 years and had lost his second wife to cancer as well. And so, going down the path thinking I'm doing this, turning 40, I'm doing this to honor my mom, and ended up going down that path and really come to realize it was all about my dad. And, that really set me on kind of the endurance journey. Ended up falling into the path of Ironman, ended up doing three full Ironman, coming out of that. And I'll tell you where the lesson was. And I don't know, did you get to see Jesse Itzler speak?
Yes, I did. Yeah. Oh my God. First of all, that might have been one of the best presentations I've ever seen.
Yeah. Jesse might be the best from stage. He might be the best person you could ever see from stage. And I had finished the New York City Marathon, and we were in LA. If anybody follows the digital marketer, Ryan Dice, Roland and Perry, they used to have, they still have digital marketer. They sold part of it. They did an event called Content and Commerce. They only did it for 4 years. This was ended up being the last year of it. And we were in LA, and the keynote speaker was Jesse Itzler. And, we've all been in the audience, and we're like, this dude is talking to me. And, one of the things that he said is one of the worst things that we can do as human beings is accomplish a major milestone and not immediately reset the goal. And I was like, shit, I haven't reset the goal. And so I was like, man, what do I got to do? What do I got to do? And then that's where, get a link to Ironman, 10 years for Ironman Florida. And I was like, man, what is this? Right? Like, what is Ironman? I didn't even know what it was, right? I've heard of Ironman. I've seen, whatever on TV before, but I had no clue what Ironman was. And so ended up, doing my homework, I just, reverse engineer everything. I don't believe you commit and figure it out. I believe you figure out what it is you want, reverse engineer. And is that something you're willing to commit to? And, I went down that path and decided that I was willing to commit to it. And really at the end of the day, Jimmy, it's like with anything, it's just time, right? Do you have the time that you're willing to invest and commit to this, to this endeavor? And so we're going down the path, it's just a wild story throughout it. And I got burnt during COVID of, hey, we're going to race or we're not going to race. We're going to race. We're not going to race. And, just got fed up with going to the pool. Most pools at gyms are just nasty. It's just nasty. Yeah. And I was like, man, just my OCD is not allowing me to be okay with this. And then, all the time on the bike, and, I just like, my fear is on the bike, and I blow a tire, and then I got to change the tire. And I'm like, man, I'm over this. And like, what's easy? What's easy is that I can have my headphones, I can have a pair of shorts, and I can have my running shoes, and I can get out anywhere on the planet and I can go run. And so I just decided to go down that path. During the, Ironman, kind of run, I had attempted a couple 100-mile races, foot races. Got 80 on my first one, got 64 on my second one. And, we kept going down that path. And, I was like, man, what's really the goal? Like, really, what is the goal here? And for me, it was like, man, I want to run Badwater. I want to run Badwater 135 in the middle of the desert in July. Like, I want to put myself through that. And what does it take? Well, the requirements were that you had to finish 3 100-mile races. Well, we did it. We got 3. So we go to submit application. Application's open for 1 week in January. And so this January I go to submit application. They changed the requirements. instead of 3 100-mile races, you got to have 4. So, kind of kicking the can and, just like, God dang, and all right, we'll get one more. And so we just been pushing it off this year. And so we were looking and we're like, man, there's one in Tampa. And like, what? Tampa? So that's where I'm at. I'm in Tampa. We got the Tampa 100 starting tomorrow morning. And, I think it's one of those things, Jimmy. It's like, why? And, what I've learned on the endurance side of things and pushing and doing hard things is that the day-to-day things that drive people crazy or paralyze people or causes tremendous anxiety to where people can't sleep don't even bother me anymore. When you do hard things, whatever your hard is, but when you do hard and you push yourself beyond what you think is even possible for you, it just unlocks things in your mind. It just unlocks things to where just certain things just don't bother you anymore. I used to, when things would get tight and I'm wondering how I'm going to make payroll next month, used to like keep me up at night. Now I know that, that's not hard. We'll figure that out. There's a solution. Just haven't, created enough space to look back and, where, who's got my money that I can go get to help us, cover where we need to be. It just changes things. And I think too, it's a humbling experience. I always like to say, I've been humbled by human beings before and I don't like it. I don't like to be humbled by another human being. I would rather humble myself. And if I can humble myself, there's no other person that can humble me. And you just learn so much about yourself when you just do things that you don't think you're capable of doing. And it just makes life a lot easier.
Man, this is so deep. Like the idea that you're going to run 100 miles tomorrow is one. Like I don't even want to drive 100 miles tomorrow, let alone run 100 miles. But you're right. I think like because we get comfortable, right? I think we get comfortable throughout our life, right? And I myself and I coached high school basketball for over 20 years.
Yeah.
Won a state championship 3 years ago now. So it's like that. So that, but then it's like, what the one mistake I did? What's next then, right? Like, what's the next piece after that, right?
Yeah.
So and now I reset myself, and now I'm coaching my 13-year-old, right? So now I've like gone back to like the 20-year-old in college. I coach a 13-year-old now, right?
Good for you.
Yeah. So it's like, but what's the next thing? Like, what is the next thing? And I think that's one thing, and I think that's one of the things I learned from EXPCon too, because we were talking about events, right? Like, and you and I had talked briefly about events before we jumped on here and how do you hosting events or whatever. And I think one of the biggest messages, and we've heard this message before, but it kind of goes to your point of what's next. Like this one thing is done, but what I have to have a plan for the next one. Because if I don't have a plan for the next thing, whatever that is, and it's for you, it's a race, right? Like I have this race. When's the next one? Right? When's the next race? Because now I got to start getting ready. As soon as this one's over, I got to start getting ready for the next one, right? And whether that's there's going to be some recovery time, right? And then it's going to be how do I start building up my endurance? Because then you're going to do a 135 in the middle of the desert, for goodness sake, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, this is all part of the plan, right? So I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up. They're just to the next one, but the next one needs to be building for something bigger, and that's why we go back to vision. And for those that have had the opportunity to work with this, I'm so adamant about the vision. And what's the vision? What's the goal? What are we trying to accomplish? Where are we going? Because we need to set the direction. And we're having fun right now with kind of the time frame we're at, because we can play on, where do we want to be by the end of the decade? That's a 5-year run. So for most people, think about that. 25 to December 31st, 2029 is a 5-year run. So where do you want to be by the end of the decade? It's fun to say, right? Hey, this is where I want to be by the end of the decade. And so, okay, well, what has to be true in order for that to happen? And you've got to get clear on the vision. And remember, your vision is your core values. Everything starts, stops, lives, dies, coach, hire, train, fire, everything to the core values. I mean, that is fundamentally the number one thing, because it keeps you in alignment to who you are at your core, spiritually in alignment. And who you allow into your circle, who you allow into your space, into your ecosystem, has to align to the core values. Obviously, why we're doing what we're doing, and then to the end of the decade. I mean, you can push out, and you can say something further, but have some fun with it. And then what has to happen in 25 in order for us to be on the path to where we want to be by the end of the decade. And most importantly, what are we doing in the next 90 days? Our mentor, Vern Harnish, Mastering the Rockefeller Habits, Scaling Up. We worked with Vern for quite some time. And he would always tell us, he would always say, where do you want to be in 10 years and what are you doing in the next 90 days? He said, those are the only two things that matter. So I would challenge people, where do you want to be at the end of the decade and what are you doing in the next 90 days? That's going to get you on the path and move you closer to that destination. But, those are all, that's all the vision. And the reason, we've all heard, right, without a vision, the village will perish. And I'm so adamant about it because it's happened to me twice with the same individual. And it's not that I don't care and love for this person. It's just that if you don't have a big enough vision, if people don't believe that they can accomplish their dreams being a part of your vision, they will leave you. And that's why I'm always pushing to people, like, what is the vision? What is the vision? You're going to lose great people. Great people, one, if you have great people, they're going to leave you if there's no vision because they can't. You're not great people without a big, compelling vision. And it's absolutely critical. And like I said, the reason I'm so adamant about it is because it's happened to me. It's happened to me twice with the same person. And, we see it in all aspects of our life. And it really is so critical, so important. So I would challenge everybody to kind of listen in. And if you're not clear on the vision, get clear on it. And one of the best tools, there's a couple really good tools, Beyond Entrepreneurship 2.0, Jim Collins' book. You can build an empire just off of that book. But the chapter on vision is that just read that chapter. It'll help you get clear on what your vision is. Utilize tools like ChatGPT to help you talk through it. Just kind of voice, and talk. And there's some core value exercises you can go through. ChatGPT will help you get clear on those things. I mean, you can just speak to that tool to be able to help you, really get clear on it. It was funny. I had a client helping her go through this and helping her get clear on her core values. And there's a great core value exercise. Core value, we did it in Cleveland at Agent CEO. It's like the 13 questions. You just voice talk to ChatGPT, the 13 questions, helped her condense and identify, her top 7, top 8 core values. And, it took us almost 2 years to get clear on our core values. She did it in 5 minutes.
Right.
And it's just amazing of how, utilizing it. I know you said you stayed away from all the AI stuff. I think, that's smart, but I also think that there has to be some aspect of it to where you're looking at it, how it can help you collapse time. But if you guys are struggling with vision, I would read through Beyond Entrepreneurship 2.0, the vision chapter. If you're struggling with leadership, it is the best condensed chapter on leadership on any book that you can read. Is the leadership conversation. The newest chapter in 2.0 is on people. Just those alone right there, those 3 chapters, people, vision, leadership, will course correct you or put you down, accelerate the path of whatever you're trying to accomplish moving into this last half of the decade.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, the thing is, man, surrounding yourself with the right people, and I use the AI piece. I use AI, I use ChatGPT like crazy. It was so because there's an exercise that I always like to do with agents. It's a pyramid, right? That and it's split up into 6 things, right? So then but one of the pieces of that is you have to go to other people, whether that's a spouse, a significant other, agents in your office, your broker, whoever it is. But you have to go to a couple other people and ask them, what do you think of me? Like when you think of me, when you think of Jimmy Nelson as a realtor, what do you think of me? What are some of the things that pop in your head? Because the thing I like about that piece is psychology wise, we're our own worst enemy. We beat ourselves up over everything. Sometimes when you start to hear what other people say about you, right? That's oh, I'm not an idiot, right? They actually think that they do trust in me. They do believe in me. They do think I'm qualified. They do understand that I'm a professional, right? They and I'm making these words up about myself right now, but and so once some other people start telling you that, make that part of your kind of your mission statement, core values too, because you're including what people think of you.
Yeah.
You are including what people think of you. Ask your spouse at the right time, though. Don't timing's everything when you ask the spouse about
Yeah.
it. But ask, once you start asking other people about things, about what are you thinking? I mean, it starts to help you set that vision too. And I think without vision, I think it was Tony Robbins that said it too, is like a goal without a plan is just a wish. It doesn't make any sense. And the idea that you said of looking at that long-term vision, what is that? And then what am I going to do today that's going to help me get closer to that, right? And reverse engineering that whole thing, because I want to do this, but then how do I get there? Because that's the hardest part to figure out. And if you don't have someone to help you figure it out, you need to find somebody, right? A mentor, a coach, somebody that can help you get down there. Because that's the hard thing, is sometimes reverse engineering that.
Yeah. And, mentors are great. The difference between a mentor and a coach is somebody you invest in. And sometimes, we pay more attention. And so I would challenge, some people, as soon as you can, make that investment. Because, great coaches do several things. One, obviously they can, see our blind spots, because we all have them. And it's all about what we reveal we can heal. And that's all we're trying to do. That's why theory of constraints. That's why we measure, track. That's why we pay attention to scoreboards. Because what we reveal we can heal. Coach is going to point those out. A coach is going to provide accountability. A coach is going to give you ideas and frameworks. And also a great coach is going to be a connector. They're going to connect you to things that are going to help you accelerate the plan, accelerate what it is you're trying to accomplish. And mentors can do the same thing, but it's just something a little fundamentally different in us, that when we pay more attention, and we're a little more intentional and a little less loose with it. And so, have all of the above, right? Have mentors now, have mentors that, from afar, and definitely have some type of coach in your life. I know, obviously, you as a coach, the importance of it, and having a great coach. I just a belief. Believe great coaches can change your life, and being able to have those type of people in anything that you're trying to improve. That's what I would say. What are you trying to improve? What is the the biggest rock? What problem are you trying to solve right now? That's where you need to focus on, and that's what you need to be reading. That's what you need to be consuming. Are those things. It's funny. I stopped doing it. I used to, anybody would jump on social media and they would say, hey, I'm looking for some book recommendations. My question was always, well, what problem are you trying to solve? You know how many people would answer that question, Jimmy?
None, probably.
None.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, I want some attention. Tell me what I should be reading. It's like, what problem are you trying to solve? I can give you, 50 different book recommendations, but it's not going to serve you unless it is something that, is going to serve you in that, whatever it is that you're wrestling with and you're trying to accomplish. And so I think that's just really back to being intentional. Really, what is it you're trying to accomplish, and what's standing in the way, and how do we remove those barriers?
Oh man. And now, so we got another comment that just came in. It said, intentional. It's a little quote for Al Adala, but intentional is definitely resonating for me. Set the rudder in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I always, when we have new agents and I break things down with new agents, one of the things I like to talk about new agents with, or tell new agents, is that same kind of thing. I can help steer your ship. I can be your rudder, right? I can help you get around some bumps and some things that the screw ups that we've all done, and help you get around those things. But I can't be your motor, right? I can't be the motor, right? I can help you set the rudder and kind of point you in the right direction, but I can't tell you how fast you're going to get there. You're the only one that can make the decision on how fast you're going to get there, not me.
Jimmy, that's the second part, right? I mean, it takes both, right? Set the rudder and row the boat. And a lot of people will row the boat without setting the rudder.
Yeah.
And then you got the people that will set the rudder, but won't row the boat. But it takes both, right? Set the rudder, row the boat. And, you'll be amazed at how much quicker you can get to where it is you're trying to go.
Yeah. Because otherwise you're both just going in a circle because you're only paddling with one hand, right?
Yeah. I mean, because that rudder is going to just flop around to whatever the way the current and the wind is blowing. And we see that a lot, right? We see a lot of people, they're not afraid of hard work. It's just like, man, what are you working hard for?
Oh, see that, and then to me, that's another piece of this whole thing, right? Is what the why, like why is that important, right? Again, this too. Wherever we ask a new agent, like how much money do you want to make? They all say 100,000, right?
Yeah.
Then I always go, why? I always ask the next question, why? What is that? What would that mean for you? Is it just a cool number that you want to make six figures? It's nobody's ever, and I just feel like nobody's ever made that before, and it's a new cool round number. But why not? Why is it 90 good enough, or why isn't it 110, or what? Like what's the? Yeah. Why is it just that is? But so I think that that's one of the things. Then we got another quote that says, "Agents feel overwhelmed every day with all the information we get blasted with. Set the rudder will help you steer your ship better."
That's right. So many distractions out there, man. And, I think, for you and your team, just the example of what you did at EXPCon is exactly how we need to be navigating the next 90 days, how we need to navigate, the next month, how we need to navigate this week, how we need to navigate today. And that's really what, you reverse engineer down to. And for a lot of people, especially salespeople, it's hard to look beyond 7 days, right? When you look at kind of what the sales goal, and here we are, first of the month, and what's the goal for November? Great. Well, what's the goal for this week? Great. What's the goal for today? And I think when you can take it down into bite-sized chunks and take it in 24-hour cycles, and if you're struggling, I would tell you to break it down even more. What am I 8 o'clock? What am I starting my day with? What's my goal for today? What's my intent? I would check in at noon. Hey, where am I at for the day? And then I would check in at the end of the day. Did I accomplish what I said I was going to accomplish? It's that level of detail. And I remember listening to, there was a gentleman talking about, how do you get through Hell Week? And, he said, you get up when the alarm goes off, you make your bed, you get to breakfast. Those are 3 wins. You make it to the line where you need to be on time. You make it to lunch on time. You make it back to bed on time. You won. And you got to win in micro little steps. So if you're struggling out there and you're kind of in that freeze, it's, fight, flight, freeze. If you're in the freeze kind of state, just focus on the next hour. Focus on the next 30 minutes. What do I got to do for this to be a victory? What do I got to do for the next 30 minutes to be a victory? Because then it's all about building momentum. And I think where sometimes we get paralyzed because we got, by the end of the decade, oh shit, that's massive. How am I going to get there? You don't have to know how you're going to get there. That's just where you're going to go. It's like, I didn't think I was going to run 100 miles when I started to figure out how to run a marathon. And so it's just baby steps. And if you're really, really struggling, take it, week by week. If you're struggling even more, take it day by day. If you're struggling even more, take it hour by hour. And that's really it. What do I got to do for this hour to be successful? Did I, how much closer did I move to my outcome over the last 60 minutes? Okay. What am I doing in the next 60 minutes? And really just focus on those little victories, because, the truth be told, Jimmy, the two things that I think really help me and can help a lot of people if you're finding yourself in a state of struggle, is adopting 2 things. What does my gratitude practice look like? And for me, my gratitude practice, and I did it this morning, right? It's the very first thing I do when I wake up. I grab, first thing I do at my phone, I open my notes, I go in, I type November 1st, 2024, grateful. And then I just start writing all the things that I'm grateful for. I do that every morning. That's just my gratitude practice. And it's so key, right? The struggle ends when gratitude begins. And then, at the end of the day, kind of reflecting on the day and what did I accomplish today? Well, I made my bed this morning. I was able to be on, this podcast with Jimmy. I got to talk to my kids. I got to talk to Leanne. I got to do all of these things, right? I had a great coaching call. I was able to have X, Y, and Z. It doesn't matter. Those are all wins. And the reality is that when we feel defeated and that we're not making progress, we can always reflect back on as like, damn, man, I'm winning every damn day. And that's the truth for everybody out there. Y'all are winning every day. You just have to acknowledge it. And that helps stay in a positive frame with gratitude and acknowledgement of progress and the wins that we're actually making. And that keeps us in a mindset of where we have to be, because that's where it starts, right? We have to win the battle in our mind first before we can really win the battle anywhere else.
Right. Well, man, look, this hour, it's been an hour. I can't believe it's been an hour already, right? Time flies when you're having fun, but
That's right.
I gotta have you back, man. I appreciate the time. I appreciate everything. I know you're getting ready for this crazy 100-mile race, but man, good luck tomorrow. Good luck tomorrow. Yep, and appreciate it. Again, thanks for joining me on the Elite Real Estate Podcast, guys. Mr. John Kitchens, I thank you very much, and we will see you all next week.
See you guys. Thanks.